Good morning, Tashidele Rinpoche.
Tashidele Rinpoche, Kota Jepa, Toma, Kota Jepa, Tashidele, Shokedele Shuayena.
Shokedele Rinpoche, Tashidele Saga. We're going to do opening prayer first. All mothers and beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those clear obstacles for my path to liberation and enrichment. May they experience happiness, be separate from suffering, and the same love establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mothers and beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those create obstacles to my path to liberation and enrichment. May they experience happiness, be separate from suffering in the same way. I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Dalla Tambar Sipe Jan Obar Sipe Gig Tarpa Damje Jibe Varda Chupar Ziba Damje Durzibe Anangada Yambe Zinjian Dewa Tamdi Dumaradan Rar Yorda Laname Yangda Baratope Sanjor Rinpoche Dobar Sa. Thus, after achieving enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and mind. After death, I perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and mind. We take refuge in the kind rule Lama and the lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of Yadams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dhakas, the Dakinis, and the Dhammagadis, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma. Likewise, in the example of Bodhisattvas, as the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind, and the progress of the Bodhisattva's path are true for the benefit of all sentient beings, giving birth to bodhicitta, and apply myself to a complete stage of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the example of Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and the progress of the Bodhisattva's path are true for the benefit of all sentient beings, giving birth to bodhicitta, and apply myself to a complete stage of the path. Sanjo Yimbo Chije Bar, Sanje Namai Jobsenje, Judan Samaye,
Solar Teji,
Jobsenje, Jidaraminje Ejeji, Sanjo Done Jibadang, Sanjo Sembe Labala. Dai ren yen ne ba dar, yen ro a ben don do, san jo sen ne ji je yen de ne la ba la, ren ba yen de la ba je. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. But the merit of jhana and other good deeds, may I take Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering, the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in contemplating, free from attachment and aversion. So we skip the 7 minute prayer. It's a little bit long. The mandala offering. The ground is sprinkling with the scented water and strewed with the flowers. It is domed with the Meru, the spirit mountain, the fourth continent, and the sign of moon as Buddha fair offering. May all sentient beings attain the happinesses of Buddha fairs. Saje Puje Soje Melora Rai Denye Nye Jimbande Sanje Shen Lai De Burwa Ye Roke Mangai Jen De To the lamas who possess the three kayas, I offer altar in order secret offerings. With my body, wealth, and all that is visible, please grant me the supreme realization and enlightenment. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and prayer, for the sake of enlightenment of all sentient beings, all these are dedicated. Tanze Pruadain Jojen Yabadang Jeza Yerain Gorjen Zorwaye Gewai Junze Dage Jezapa Tamje Zope Zanjo Zermo Onguru Rena Mendala Unza Menga Samundra Savarna Zamaye I equal refuge on the way of the world. Your fame provides the 3,000 worlds. You are the victor of Arjatara without doubt. I bow at the feet of Father Jigdin Songon. Continue nothing with no one but you. Compassionate one, grant your blessings. Dispel darkness that surrounds my heart. Please bless me so that I can realize and liberate nature of the mind. Chamdenje, Dombe, Zanglenje, Chakbe, Tonsong, Yongla, Cha, Dume, Jarwa, Dorje, Chang, Anjede, Gombe, Shablande, Udade, Samje, Julemi, Sinje, Loje, Tuje, Jin, Yenga, Nemba, Sarne, Jang, Semje, Darada, Topar, Sinje, Lo. Go through the magician prayer. His wisdom is brilliant like the sun, free of the clouds of true words, and perceive the various steps of knowledge in the true nature. For this reason, he holds the wisdom tracks at his heart. He has compassion for all beings who are suffering from the darkness of ignorance in the prison of samsara, as a father for only the son. Like a thunderclouds, he wakens those who are sleeping in ignorance and losing the chance of karma through the 60th branch of Haramani speech. He wears the wisdom silver to cast settling of suffering and to dispel the darkness of confusion. And the Bodhisattva form is pure from beginningless time, fully accomplished in the 10 levels and perfect in the body of all knowledge. A subjugated you magician adorned by the 112 sons of Buddha to dispel darkness of my ignorance. Om Arapatsanade, 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 Om Arapatsanade. Om Arapatsanade, Om Vangishoram, 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 Om. You who are the perfect, beautiful body, whose flame of wisdom blesses and dispel the darkness of worldly ignorance, are posted before you the first magician. Yun Kule Changwa Po Yishi Kome Radambar Yekden Tamo Mensaruwa Yambar Yamma Sansaratu. Please chant the way of the Dharma of the true vehicles and the combination according to the disposition, and likewise the mental capacity of sentient beings. Senje nongje zombadang loye zedai jedawar jejon temon de baye jejang golo gordo.
我都这真把他们这把那毛我说那这这个长路到帮助小这个就那个说这到东南九点半就去了他们那路中内周边那面东拉巴达了拉这个现在咱把用这些面对了要长路都是讲现在的那个把我们来去这个我们中国就往中嘛感觉了妈妈说哇的我们去就不让的这种他这个就啊甚至个我都是这边咱们那边就说哇的是什么啊现在出去去要上面我就而且了说曾经说人家是打击了咱把出去的咱都说这咱去说那么的就当这边把就那么上去把个这边把就生活有的这样的这些产品亲戚有的哈国有的一样的那样上的这个哈萨沃的呢打没希望他去了这个偏给的这两个样那两个的那样这是300人亲戚这当我主席那上的这里去到了嘛这些个人真的是3G 是吧的咱们那个听那个电呢我做的我和电呢大起步的搞了一个3G 的只有的大起步嘛是谁有的搞那个谁有的那这里他们他们下有的下个的下的你用了下有的为了这个理到的人呢这个他差不多的你这个差不多300的你这到这里300的你这当这两个刚是小个他是的
So Drikung Dharma friends, and so today I'm going to speak about the 4 immeasurables according to how it is explained in the Buddhist teachings. And of course you all know about that, you've heard about the 4 immeasurables. But still, for people like myself who have not much learning, maybe things are not completely entirely clear, so I'm just going to explain it to just clarify it a little bit. And so what is love or loving kindness? What's its characteristic? So this is what I would like to talk about today for a little bit. So this term love is a quality that is treasured anywhere in the world, also in science, for example, or any kind of field of knowledge. We always encounter this word love. And that's because everyone understands this to be a very precious quality. Everybody knows that. And the reason why everybody knows that is because everyone possesses wisdom. And so there's wisdom and there's compassion. If you have compassion, then wisdom will arise. And so this compassion, love and compassion is all-pervasive. And so now today I'm going to speak about how we can bring this love, incorporate love and compassion into our own. So I'm going to speak about that to the best of my abilities. And again, Dashidelek. 난디기 정황가 남손들이 잡아다 hin지 내가 참아서 봐. 우리 잡아다 hin지 내가 찾기도 하장 꿀보이 마.
이슬은 군초스인데 이 군초스는 뒤에 저런 거 아빠한테 이제 주요래 대라다다지 저당 사지 주당 게 되는 순간 상기가 대량도 좀 담보상 족초도 톡지 좀 토마미 번에더니 레타버지 언납자만자 버지 언납자를 했더니 담보상 족초도 톡지 정대 이 족사도 남의 상기 막사다 당도 통치스 좀 요래 고요래 제치면 암조는 고요래지 이랑더니 무슨 냠서 용들이라는 게 냠설림 백감이 이리다다 단지 이제 차공으로 차서면 내가시라 용토면 다도 못 차서면 이런 건 남자로 가더니 초등만 차로는 연로로 되려고 단지 이제 차롱 그 배에 삼지에 두지 배에 되면 초등처럼 이제 배에
So there's the three jewels in this world, and so yesterday recently we practiced the Buddha Shakyamuni sadhana, and in that sadhana it says that in the world the treasure like enlightened activities of the Buddha have made a pervade. Because these activities or the presence of the Buddha in the world is extremely rare. And that's why we speak about the three jewels as the three rare and precious ones, supreme ones. So the three jewels are the Buddha, and from the Buddha appeared the Dharma, and from the Dharma appeared the Sangha. And so why is it that we call them rare? Why are the three jewels rare? Because rare means it refers to what is really rare is the causes of merit. People or beings do not really create, are not really able to find merit or to accumulate merit, find it, but they can't accumulate merit. They can't really apply merit. And the reason they can't apply it is because they're completely tied up by self-grasping. Because they're tied up by self-grasping, they are unable to connect with love and compassion in their hearts. And so that is why, because of this connection to love and compassion is so difficult, they can't really incorporate that into their mind. That's why we say it is rare. The three jewels are rare. It is rare for us to cultivate true love and compassion in our hearts. And so now, the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. So first the Buddha appeared in the world. And when the Buddha appeared, he first gave rise to the mind of bodhicitta. And then for a long time, he accumulated merit and he purified obscurations. In his life stories, we can read about how he took on 500 pure and 500 impure lifetimes. So we all know about it, we've heard about that. And we always hear about love. We're fully aware of it, but then when it comes to actually doing it, actually practicing it, it's different because when it comes to practicing it, our mind solidifies again and it becomes like an ice block. So that's why that prevents us, it hinders us from ever really loving. And so the reason why we are unable to love is because our self-clinging is too strong. It's just like we are in this nightlight state. At night it gets cold and the water freezes into ice. But what it really needs is warmth. Love, loving kindness is like the warmth, and self-grasping is like an ice block. We always say that. It's like water and ice. So, 다디 중심으로 되는 다다 타마들이 랑게체도 지티게 감도 나디 조치를 다다 토만이 좀 요래 다들 좀 다음에 받아서 송아송 드리게 뭐 데라들이 다디 다지니 마르빠데 동담게 마 동담을 다지니 마르빠 그것도 마 다지니 좀 정지들이 다진지 마제랑지 차디 요래 그래서 차디 뭐 되지
강례를 이제 산지 좀 뒤에 그더니 심지 남는 산지 혼자 로를 좀 해서 심지에 샘을 광거랑 이나선 거요래 샘지들이 샘지랑 이나가 다 샘을 하고서는 샘들까지 사자시 보서 거요래 샘도 똥만이라 단지니 요 말이지 나가다 버리지 내가 똥바 똥장만이 뭐 쌀을한지 똥만한지 쌀똥선 욕들이 되더라 주가 돌리 장비를 됐다가 내가 용기 인상도 좋다고 때려가 그것도 다 되는 들이다 생코랑이지 쌀똥이지 뭐지 핫도그 그거 요래 생문에로 쳤다 깨다가 오 생물이들 다 너감지 나도 감지라 다 얘가 말이 나가로 뒤로 말이 되게 따와더니 고학생 고고서나 대회는 다 미장 다다 가지 들고 들이 들이다다지 다음에 말 나도 저 뒷박차를 뛰니 들이다다 다지니 저 대로 다 때려더니 유몽 마저 유몽가 쪽 때려더니 들이다 내가 좀제 기직 삼바라서 들이고 왔다 들이들 소리 섬적 미송 섬적 들이던 걸 도와 쪽에 되게 저성대 저송아들이 따지 좋지 미송성대 능내제 능은 톨성은 저거 능해서 탑지 능해게라지 저 사지에 지요래 지리대 감이들이 다지 이디를 송아대 지리 이들이 강게 죽을 좀 이제 경지 그 당시에 바로 와서 송아면 나가다 얘기장 내마다 오장 로버를 좀 해줘 생코랑 나가다 얘기장 들이들 니디죠 니디들은 뭐보다 지만 시네 들이 레디 박차라 들이 내가 들이들이 니만 저나게 들이다 다른 좋아 좋죠요래서 대형 타서고 살아요 말이 라고 레다 박차요 좋은 양가서 우리들 이봐요 말이 되고 좀 그래 그냥 코가 좀 그래 코가 남이 점을람지 다들 과 짱만 해서 코가도 하고도 코가도 좀 그래 저 사지가 동남대 많이 되다가 하고 손세
Yeah. So, I was mentioning the 37 Bodhisattva practices, and this is really what I know. Even within the 37 practices, there are maybe a few things that I'm not perfectly know. But the 37 practices are really all unknown. And there is one very important verse in there, and it says that all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. So what people don't understand is the fault of self-grasping. And because they cannot see that fault in themselves, they are unable to see the good qualities in others. So we always speak about it, and we know that in a way we know that that self-grasping is a great fault, but then still we only consider ourselves as most important, because this is what has obscured our mind since beginningless time. We believe in a self that does not actually exist. So ultimately there is actually no self. Only on the relative level there appears to be the separation between self and others. And so therefore on the relative level we have no choice but also look after ourselves. But the Buddha had said all beings are actually Buddhas. They are only obscured by adventitious states. So what the Buddha really taught here is the nature of the mind. He said that all sentient beings are like space. Their mind is like space. When you know this mind, when you realize it, this seeing is called Mahamudra. And within this empty mind that is like space, there is no self and no other. So it is empty, but it is not only empty. It is also very clear. It is clear and empty. And that nature is called the Dharmakaya Vajradhara. And within that Dharmakaya, all the enlightened qualities are perfected. And so even on the relative level, we can still understand the clear and empty nature of the mind. We just have to look at our mind. When you look at your mind, just try to see, is there a self? You will not be able to find one. There is no self. It is just like space. And that's something you can get at just by understanding it. So even though there is no real self, we perceive a self. And because of that, we accumulate karma. So we form habitual patterns. And these habitual patterns are what create this perception of self and other. And then from that arise the other 5 or 6 afflictive emotions. And as a result of that, the entire world appears to possess a concrete, true existence. So it is said that karma, cause and effect is the momentary, natural manifestations of one's inner thoughts. And so as a result of one's own thoughts, sometimes we find ourselves in the 3 higher realms, sometimes in the 3 lower realms. But wherever we go, there's only suffering. In the lower realms, there's the suffering of suffering. In the higher realms, there's the suffering of change. But everything has the nature of suffering. And this is what the Buddha had realized. And the Buddha realized that from this misperception, of a self, the perception of self and other arises. Also in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says in the beginning, they have realized that all phenomena neither come nor go. So that is like space. Space doesn't come and go. That is what the Buddhas have realized. And even though this is our true nature, we are obscured by adventitious stains. And that is the grasping at a dualistic existence. We believe that things possess a true concrete existence. And because this is how we see things, we accumulate karma, we deepen the karmic imprints in our mind. And things appear like they are real, just like the rays of the sun, actually all being part of one, but appearing as separate. And that is how we perceive the 6 realms of samsara. On the ultimate level, all of this does not actually exist. It is just because we accumulate karma and karmic imprints. But whenever these are purified, we see that all of these various appearances lack any inherent existence. And this is how we then realize the illusory nature of samsara. The Buddhas have said that samsara is like an illusion and everything is selfless. There is no self. When you see how things really are, when you see that there is no self, you will begin to see everything as illusory. And so this is the ultimate truth that the Buddha had realized.
Dandi Maze, but the lay or Vela. The Venetri, the Domimar, Dandi, Sumari. 3,000 support, look at Julam, Tata, Toa, nature, water to some nature. They don't demand, Tori, they don't demand tourism. Nisong, the major donation. They have the Tammy of Wahako or the Tamza military, Sajika Tachibuha. They are oil. They corner, they don't some of them. This sort of some of them. Oh, Tata Musan, conjured upon Zabel in the Tata. Jumbling, they don't need your age. They don't need your age. Such a country that dominates I remember your age. They can't read it. Oh, that down deal, they knew what she had done to Tato age. Some got it. That dominated just out of our trees. Down deal, teeny, that is your age. 무슨 소리세요 봐. 띠기로 나나 공기 나나 치보지고 그러면 그리지는 각도도 너 그래. 띠좀 탈띠 너 이는 너 봤다마디 저한테 다시 당에 뱉는 데를 랑미인 걸 하고요 말이. 내가 레랑 미용 같아 하고나 대체 그 말 다지 님에 랑을 샤제 바나기 랑을 샤제 바나기면은 이 야지지 못하게 랑이 샤제를 랑나요. 그래서 줍레트들은 콜버티 하버리 줍레트다 줍레트 때문에 메시비 실수로 뭐 봐야죠. 레이저들 찾아서 하모라 들이 다 끼지고 요래. 대회를 다 무보 끝접 줍레로 하면 봐. 끝접도 당고서 무보 트럭대 봐. 그래서 로아를 너무 요래. 데라티니 다 딜 동네는 이제 좀 just one 거래. 이제 대화다 다 삼세래. 삼지 최종 가리로 삼지 최고로 사지지 사축서버 사서버래. 내리 최고는 또 당고 대만 통로 다 차지고 막 도고 요래. 대비 삼지 총총들 요래요라 속차 대당 당을 요래들이 왜로 속차 차전 차와 탐지를 때나 되게 가도다 보다 옆대라서 봐서지 이도 멍지요래. 대답지 이도 여탐지 적강에서 무슨 대주를 삼지를 내주지 사바티 잘들이들이甚至 속자까지 지원이요 보다 일하와 대답지 대고서는데 담배는 이도 뭐 탐지 랑샘세 여러 가래는 대답지 삼지가랑 이제 송아리 삼지가 용띠도 하고 삼지 용띠 산쪽에서 직주를 제대로면 별로 잡기도 못한 뜻에서 제가 다시 들리다고 말해서 상하지 봐라. 내가 소리에 대한 소리는 하다 말을 뒤도 들이 상쪽에 대해서 망들로 이야기해놓은 들이 사통 상제고 막 통로 그래야지. 내가 배우하다 사통 대화도 답을 주질 않대. 주가리에다 삼지래. 삼지에 제일 좀 망는 거. 그리 토닥들이 사바 세배 받게들이 다도 상지 고망 때문에 삼바 세배 받게 그래 단지 오메가 차요래 오래 다지지 로를 매바 차를 되고 도 사족세서 이 세분한테는 나 마상 받으니 딱발 심지 답들라미 대인서 받아 이 초점을 공고를 맞춰서 받으니 랍상태 토야요 말이 이 삼바 세배 받아도 이랑게 당고 사바가 요거 띠지하고 이제랑게 줄을 가와도 사바가리에 문제 그 문제들 다티 속여들 가려 주박 쏜 거야 삼바라 띠리 찌와래 삼바라 띠리 이게 쏜 거요래 삼바라 마띠리 이게 요래 삼바라 띠리 이게 띠들이 상쪽에 세베 되나 띠도 삼모당 되네 삼바당 저들이 삼는 되는 문제 사마된 문제, 이게 된 문제, 새 연락되니 남생물들이 대경 문제를 기초본도 없대.
So samsara is like an illusion. When you say that to someone, they might feel that it's not really an illusion because I can actually see things. I have a real physical body and I actually suffer. There's a lot of suffering. How is that an illusion? So people have some doubts about that statement. However, even though everything is like an illusion and the mind is beyond birth and death, there's still karma, and whatever karma is created will ripen. Even though you possess Buddha nature, you may wander in samsara for thousands of years. But because there is Buddha nature, whenever this karma comes to an end, Buddha nature in the end will again be liberated. So it is because of our karma and karmic imprints that we wander in samsara, even though samsara is empty. The karmic imprints are actually empty. But until we attain enlightenment, we follow karma. And so even though Buddha nature is beyond birth and death, temporarily we experience suffering. So if you don't want to experience suffering, you need to understand karma. And this is the prayer of all the Buddhas. They have said that may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And that is explained in the 37 practices. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. If you have an altruistic mind, self-grasping will naturally diminish. But the stronger your self-grasping, the more your altruism, the more your love will diminish. And in the end, your love becomes so small that the merit diminishes, and when beings even take on a very small body, a small form, and experience more and more suffering. So in brief, for as long as there is self-grasping, there will be suffering. All suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. And whether it is about our own body or our environment, wherever we are in the 6 realms of samsara, there's always suffering. And so in this world here, we experience both happiness and suffering. In the lower realms, we only experience suffering, suffering upon suffering. And anyways, this is something that you all know about, you all have heard about, and you know about that well. And you know about that because the Buddha's words have spread in the world, so people can understand that. And really, think about it. Now we see this world and it appears as a truly existing world, a concrete world. And in this world that we perceive as real, there is suffering and there is happiness. If you look around, there are some places in the world where there is much more suffering than happiness, where there's so much misery in the world. And all of this comes from self-grasping. And because we grasp at a self, we develop hatred and jealousy. And these are the seeds for all of our suffering, the causes for all of our suffering. And so this is something we can actually see unfolding in this world. It is because we think about ourselves, me, and then we harm others so we can get what I want. In the end, however, this will only come back to the one who harmed somebody else, because they keep with them that seed of hatred within their minds, and that will ripen upon themselves. And that is something that people don't understand. They don't understand that whatever karma they create, it ripens on themselves. If they would know that, they wouldn't do all kinds of things. When we harm others, it is just like, for example, you're biting in your own hand, you're eating your own flesh, not knowing that it's your own hand, not knowing that biting into your own flesh actually hurts yourself. The reason why I'm hurting others is like that is because self and others are inseparable. We are like one, and therefore harming others is like harming yourself. And this is how karma comes around. It is said that beings do not know the interdependence of cause and effect. They are blind, they are ignorant as to what is to be known. And because they don't know, they're ignorant, many faults come from that. So on the relative level, karma is And therefore there is suffering, and no one wants to suffer. And if you don't want to suffer, you have to avoid the cause of suffering. You have to create the cause of happiness, which is a mind of love, as much as you can. If you develop great love, you will become a bodhisattva or even attain enlightenment. But if you even have a little bit of love, like an animal has some love, that already is very precious. Because if you look in the animal realm, for example, there are some animals who are different. They are beautiful like birds, they have a beautiful color and shape and a voice, and people like them. And whatever makes a beautiful appearance, anything that appears as something beautiful, pleasing, you like, comes from love. Even the slightest love. Anything, even if it is a mental arising, whether it is something arising in the mind or in our outer environment, anything that is good and beautiful and nice is a result of love. It's a quality of love, and that is what we have to recognize. And so this is how we first develop relative bodhicitta, when we recognize that. And when that arises in your mind and you then take the bodhisattva vow just once in your life, it will stay with you from lifetime to lifetime until you attain enlightenment. It will never leave you, never give up on you. And temporarily you take birth in the higher realms as a god or a human, and then bodhicitta develops further until you attain enlightenment. Love is a cause of temporary benefit and ultimate happiness. And so that is what we call the path of the Holy Dharma. The Dharma is love. It means Dharma practice means to increase your love until ultimately love becomes immeasurable love. And when that arises, you attain enlightenment. And that it means attaining enlightenment means you become free of self-grasping. There's just no more thought of myself. When there's no more thought of yourself, a relative bodhicitta has arisen. There is no thought of me or I. You just always think about others, other sentient beings. But this is something you have to habituate to. It's starting from small. It's not something that will just instantly arise like that. Immeasurable love is something that is gradually developed. But to develop it, you first have to understand what it is. What is its quality? Where is it in the mind? And how is it? What is it? What is love? And then you have to know what is it that preserves or maintains love, and that is patience. So first, there's this sense of kindness or kind of tenderness that arises, and from that arises love, and from that arises compassion. Then there is a compassion that is connected to love, and that is what then ultimately turns into bodhicitta. So first you have to recognize love. What is it? You have to know what it actually is. And then you have to understand what compassion is. And understand it by looking outside to various objects, or also inside, arising from within your own mind.
남니 잡아 살아 되게 쟁이 메도 생나서 거든지 룰루 차는 이제 대답게 선후연적되는 삼재가랑 지는 야제도 있다고 그래. 난 주의지 셈지는 때는 내가 셈을 삼재도 요거 값을 내가 가리는데 삼재랑 때문에 도저히 용나 야 도저히 용나는 치지 용나 제대로 삼재지 뭘 제대로 정도되는 수밖에고 저때 삼재가 용되래. 낭 셈나 내가 선후지 적되게 삼재대 용지대 니 따와들래 약하게 받아서 살아서 못해서 되게 용기들 지는 들들 삼재지 계속 요래 난 주제 섭지를 되는 들이 나는 게 제대로 내대독 참만 담는 게 가리 너게 말이 나대도 요 삼재가 요 뛰는 따뜻다 로를 강을 송나디다 들랑 대화 중대 도바 들이 갑자기 비용 띠디 삼띠 용띠 양대양들이 들이 삼띠 짜치부리시 따디 싸르 가리자 거기들 따디 끼리 졸로 그래들이 싸토고 요 말이 이 싸고 달로 다 사지 좀 내제 가그래지 다 세지가 동네지 거래지 이게 동네지 삼발에 좀 인게 베리지 세누지 적디나 용디 되는 이 지성제 메토드 때에 철로 때에 다들 인지래 메토드를 세와 요베 다들 추가로 메토드 요르가 때에 철로 때에 다들 인지래 데레들이 세지 제는 탐세를 때에 샘들은 은혜 속 차도이나 데레들이 대답제 동네 초롱 거리 다다고 제는 탐세를 때에 제가 그리 디지리도 다 세지 탐세들 이 세지 속 차고 내가 왜 되잖아 내 동네 요래 얘는 대다고 하고는 들이 다랑지 잠보 차고 잠바들 잠보를 차요 뭐래 베네디 세여데 대바나 롱바지 삼바체보도 용나 롱바 펜션 내가 제거섬나 삼바체보도 용나 들이갈 봐도 들이 롱바니가 두보자 들이 펜션 통들 내가 소화들이 삼바데 맨데 삼바가 맨이오래 데레들이 자갑자갑발로 터들 이렇게 터들 같이 요러들이 내기 체로 요래 그린 터들들 하면 다다 다 오처럼들이 랑수수 다 주고 때는 다 자갑자갑 좀 봐잖아 다 주고 뒤다 소화자 거래 오다 당진이 중래 당은이래 조금상이 집에서도 삼지디 탑톡 내가 페마다 탑톡 되었다 은이래 다시 삼제 되게 정보도 다시 삼제 되게 망도 동거도 소리 로지키라 다 잡고 저서만 되래 다 내주를 갖다지래 다 그래랑 줄을 다다다 로도랑 봐요 공지 들이 은혜서 지게 로를 동네에 촌나 동네에 강에서 철거라다 나디 소리 소문에 들이 이제리 레저벨이 지게요 요래 들이 사바까지 길라 이시지를 따라 들이사 삼지 줄에 길라 자공의 쇼를 쳐대 가사까 찾은 거를 저거 뵙고 거래 내리 자공도 맞아 나 듣고는 수록과 추바돼 있는 용띠 제답 그나 줄에 삼지면은 내가 송수게 제가 팽기 얼마 같이 제게 같이 그 수수는 팽기마다 같이 팽기도 세월이 내려들이들이 나는 약하고 내가 레벨이 몇이 줄에 삼지 요거 몇게 깨자 셀러라 내가 셀러라 가래시는 진짜 페이바 랑라 대와 내리 이랑라 이지지 세진은 파피를 처리 지지 이 비지 삼지에 대와들이 내가 잘 때때보 약을 찾고요 삼지에 되면 가는 중참마들이 다들 도지 다 주고 제대로 동네적으로 들이 가사가라 싸우다 거라잖아 땅이 삼지에 선우 적디나 비트지 강을 차 야는 다 삼지에 다치 버려 삼지가 이 대화에 상 이들이 어디 오래지
And so when we look in the outer world, there's the universe and there's the beings within the universe, and so there, and we need to discern between here in this world. We need to be able to discern between love and self-grasping. So to give an analogy, for example, a loving mind is like a meadow in the summertime. So in the summertime, it rains and the weather is pleasant and many flowers grow everywhere and trees grow. And so there's a beautiful environment in the summertime. And the mind of a sentient being with great love is like that. It's very, very beautiful and at ease and relaxed. So then also a person who possesses great love, then whatever they do, they will be happy. For example, if you have a loving friend that you live with, or even if you don't have a human companion, if you have a dog, for example, then that dog will be very happy next to you. So that is a sign that you possess great love, that people are happy, they want to be in your presence. That's a quality of love. And so this is something we can see just in the normal, ordinary in the world. Because the quality of love is that people want to be with that person, or even between countries in a larger scale. When you think about the quality of love, a country will get along, and there will be peace and cooperation between countries. If it is between sentient beings, there will be peace and harmony between sentient beings. And then on the other hand, as we said, all suffering comes from wishing for one's own happiness. Recognize that difference between what happens when you love or when you cling to a self. Wherever you go in the 6 realms in this world, any happiness, anything good that you find comes from love. And so if you keep this in mind all the time, you will recognize love is so important. This is what I need. And then in order to have love, what is it that you need to be careful about? So the problem is that when we encounter a situation to keep our mind of love. And so what we need to do in this case is we need to remember the suffering of others, the suffering of sentient beings. Then a sense of like this tenderness, this kindness will arise. And from that, a care, a love arises, and from that, compassion arises. For example, another example, when we grow a flower, we treat it with great gentleness. We are very gentle with the flower. We look after it, we pour water into it, we are very gentle with it, because we feel care, love for that flower. We don't want to hurt it. Yes, that is compassion. So when the mind really enters into this way of seeing things, then you will begin to feel, for example, how is somebody else feeling? You will begin to treat your surroundings with great gentleness. And just naturally, even if it's not people, but it begins with actually inanimate, outer objects, outer things like flowers and so on. You begin to become very gentle, and then it also becomes projected to others, and then you begin to feel, oh, that person is suffering. And so you feel that because of this gentleness. And this term gentleness is actually something that is part of the word loving kindness. We usually say, we call it loving kindness. Or Jampa in Tibetan, and so Samba actually means like being very gentle and kind. So you feel somebody else's suffering, or between countries when they're very gentle or kind to each other, then there will be cooperation and they will live in harmony. There will be a mutual harmony between different countries, and love will increase. And on the other hand, however, when people only think about themselves and they're not gentle and kind with others, then that will lead to disharmony, and that is why there is a lot of conflict and wars in the world. It is all the fault of self-grasping. So ultimately, we just need a mind of love. That is the temporary benefit and ultimate happiness. And you just have to recognize that and see that this is what I need to have. I need to improve my love. I need to follow the law of karma. I need to seek protection, refuge from the 3 jewels. And by thinking in this way, this is really where you then begin the path of practice, like practicing the 4 thoughts that turn the mind and so on. You begin to really see and feel the suffering of sentient beings in the 6 realms. And only when you see that will you know what is at the root of this suffering. At the root of this suffering is self-grasping. And when you see that, you will finally believe in karma, you will trust in karma. And you will essentially trust in love. And the more you trust in love, the more the ice block will melt. And when the ice block melts into water, water becomes all-pervasive. So it is said in the teachings that even though we understand the Dharma, we know about the qualities of love, we still hold on to the self, and then even our Dharma really becomes not very beneficial. So there's people who understand a lot about the Dharma, the Dharma practitioners, but it's of not much benefit if they can't be kind and gentle to others. So then there's other people out in the world who treat others with much kindness. And so in any case, this leads to their own benefit and the happiness of others. So in brief, what we need to understand is we need to trust or believe in the quality of love, and then we need to hold on to it so it becomes stable and firm. And we need to recognize that all faults, all mistakes come from self-grasping. So this is something we can see all over the place, in the outer world and within our own mind. In any kind of circumstance, there's an opportunity to recognize the preciousness, the importance of love.
그래서 다 카타야들 초과자 가사가 초과자고 가리 롬마 가시게 오다 고조로도 내 정보도 고소 고초스고 잡아동지 대라고 살로도 제소 디노르소 고초스고 잡데 저리 마마 접제다 때르라도 스바가제다 레라도 소마레 레니 바드사 타나 사제기한테 사가 캡그 말에 사제기 준비해 속물에 Jabdere tini tatan zambalini zamling chokchin lang tini lulun natami pa semla dongemi ba lo jakala de sumi teran zambalini mimambo sheki yore te tabje mangbo yore zambalini dongi chekcha mebe lomba jakab lan draga mari lomba draga mari matang chegina medinani semdel lale semla dongi la semla dewa de to yambo yogo bari 이 담요라는 레게 지선 장용거를 레게 지선 장용을 사지게 레좀데 송을 좀데 냠도 랑니 따다 내가 톱제도 지고서 좀데 냠도 랑니 띠앙마 치랑게 디바타오나 따다다 속고 차대요래 띠앙마 때문에 그마잘 줘봐고 자가요 같이 레가 가래시는 남로메와 빼샤면 소방 칸바야 메바 같이 쓰는 잡을 놓고 자들이 빼샤요래 이 강이 용거리 다 산지고 점바에서 로조지 저처럼 되는 물리서 삼지 용의 점바 동거래 그러게 용용을 많이 받게 그래 삼지 용의 많이 받다는 거 말이야 강피피 저거래 삼지 용의 점바 요래 삼지 용의 저처럼 요래 삼지 용의 조바 요래 세낭랑게 고 가래는 되게 다 강에 대해서 소리들이 조바 거를 코로나 조바 요래 Jimba Chotam Zuba some to some take a Yontina song or there are so many Meritonatini, Chotamlatini to Muru what to talk already. Oh, Zuba did a draw zombo, donzi or Cherimbo, there's a talk already. Yeah. 3D Chotamili or Zuba Jimba Chotam Zuba. 저সম는데 물이 제바라더니 로조 조바르티는 저도 동티고 대선 토리 용디 좀데 제바처럼 조바스는데 타고 요래 내려게도 스탑되지 시합을 이제 생계용 상방은 인계용 인계를 시합이야 제요래 시합이야 타고로 스탑되지 시합이야 타지고 자게 요래 랑지게 타고 요래 대송사과 소나한테 싸드는 삼티 요디 찌르들이 되다가 소는 걸 해서 대답된 남을 때나 맨내들 답이 ko chia ma dong deng ma je ko re de lu na ta me ba re de o ko dong ji mo zhuo de mo ko che mo o ko zu ba ge yong ji re de ya sam ji yong ji li sa pa se ye la de ne de sa ma dang la ye sam ji yong ji na se mo yo go re de.
So nowadays there's a lot of conflict in the world. There's wars all over, and some disciples actually have recently said that they're all suffering so much. The 3 jewels didn't protect them, so then they begin to develop some doubts, and that's actually a mistaken way of thinking, because it is said, if you wish to know what you did in the past, look at your present body. If you wish to know where you will go next, look at your present actions. Now, so if we have accumulated negative karma, no matter what karma we have accumulated, we have to experience the results. And even the Buddha himself cannot do anything about it. The Buddha himself told us that he can show us that path, he can teach us karma. But once karma is created, we have to experience the result. And if it is not created, we will not experience the results. For example, in the past, there have been world wars, and still some people remained completely unaffected. Some people did not experience any physical suffering, nor mental suffering. And they are almost 100 years old and they're still alive. There's many people like that. So there are some people that, despite all of the misery experienced in the world, some people remain completely unaffected. There's some people that find themselves in a country where there is no war. Or even within one country, not everyone is the same. Even in a happy country, there are some people who are happy and some people who suffer. Not everyone is the same, because we follow our own personal karma. That is why the Buddha said it's so important to understand karma. So the Buddha therefore taught practice the paramitas. For example, in a previous life, if you have practiced generosity, you will find wealth now in this life. You will have no financial difficulty, for example. And there are some people who never find a job, who have no money, who have no house, and so on. And that is because they have not practiced generosity in previous lives. It's because of stinginess. And then there's other people who have so much money they could help the entire world. So that all comes from generosity. Or, for example, you found a precious human body because of being disciplined, ethical discipline. So it all comes actually from love, and this is what we need to recognize. If you are generous, if you give something to others, it's because of love. If you practice ethical discipline, if you don't harm somebody else, it's because of love. And also the paramita of patience, because you love others, you are patient with them. So no matter what happens, either it's in the outer world or in our personal lives, even if we encounter some problems and difficulties with people, if you have patience, you're not getting angry at them. And so these qualities of generosity or practices of generosity, discipline, and patience are the practices that lead to all happiness in the higher realms. So again, because of generosity, the quality you will find is wealth. And because of ethical discipline, you will find a precious human body. If you practice patience, as a result, you will have harmonious friendships, you will have a beautiful appearance, and you will experience a long life. So all the good qualities of the higher realms, all the happiness comes really from love. And from that comes compassion, and from that comes wisdom. It is when we speak about accumulating merit, what we are accumulating is really love. All these practices that we do, they all come from love, essentially. So For example, when you look around and you see someone, for example, a person who is never sick, and then you can think that, okay, he's never sick because in a previous life he did not abuse or harm others. Or if you see somebody where you feel like, oh, he has a really beautiful face and he has many friends. Oh, that's because he has been loving and kind to others in a past life. And so on. But this is how you should kind of apply your understanding of the paramitas. And so it's not just about precious human beings, but even among the animals, for example, there's different kinds of animals. There's birds or cats and dogs. And even within one species, within one kind, some experience more happiness, some more suffering. For example, there are some animals that humans keep as pets and really care for them even better than for a human being. So those animals experience a lot of happiness and well-being. And what is the cause of that? It is love, because in a previous life they have accumulated love. They have created the cause for that. So anything, any happiness, any well-being experienced by beings comes from this cause. Come from bodhicitta. So recognize that it is really all goodness really comes from love, and this is the cause of all happiness. This is what I mean. And then also Chitin Sumgön, he had said that so in terms of karma, he said that even if a bodhisattva on a 10th bhumi, they accumulate karma, they will go into the lower realms, such as hell. But even if they go into the lower realms, they will think of sentient beings. And normally we think, we make a prayer that may I not be born in hell, may I be free from hell. And so, like, there's one story from the time of when a previous life of the Buddha, before he became a Buddha. It's a story of how the Buddha was born in hell and then was liberated from hell because of bodhicitta. So before that, he was a householder, he had a mother, and one time he got angry with his mother and he hit her over the head with a shoe. And that is a very negative karma, because it was his kind mother. So as a result of that, he was born in hell realm, where there were hot iron wheelbarrows. But the Buddha still had bodhicitta, even so that time not the Buddha, but this bodhisattva still had bodhicitta. And so when he was there, he made a prayer that may all beings who experience such suffering become liberated from their suffering, because he reflected that there are many people in the world who harm their mothers, who abuse their mothers, who have evil thoughts against them, their mothers, and they all will experience immense suffering. So in this moment, when he realized that, he developed great compassion for all those sentient beings. So he himself was in hell, and there was this sound that appeared in the sky. May those who are born here instantly become liberated. And so then he made this great aspiration for sentient beings, and he was instantly liberated, and all the hell wheelbarrows dissolved in the sky. Now, this is a story that is found in the Sutra of the Foolish and the Wise. Normally, it is us who don't want to suffer. We think that I'm suffering, I don't want to suffer. And for as long as we think this way, we will continue to suffer for as long as this I exists. But instead, if you suffer and not think of yourself, but think of others who also experience such suffering, then you will realize that there is actually no self, and your self-grasping diminishes. And so there are many stories like that of how great bodhisattvas have taken birth in hell, and instantaneously again became liberated because of great compassion or bodhicitta for sentient beings. So even if one is born in the lower realms, even if a bodhisattva is born in the lower realms, and if they have bodhicitta, that will not ever leave them. They will not abandon them. And that will never leave them because they possess Buddha nature. They will bring that with them. So that is why when we say that when you take the bodhisattva vow once, it will stay with you until you attain enlightenment. It will not forsake you. That is why we also say, please remain until the end of samsara. because it is something that will always be there until the end of samsara. And if you recognize it in an instant, it dispels all of your suffering. For example, if you're sick and think that healed, may they all get better. If you, for example, perform a ceremony, a puja, with this thought, it will actually be beneficial. But if you think that I'm performing a ceremony because I want to get better, may I get better from this disease, of course, temporarily experience the results of our own karma. But however much bodhicitta you possess, bodhicitta will be powerful in benefiting you.
Tritaveta ta konujiri ke chate ta mangzi injang tete reshe jamna yakbo yore triti tamchi chon nordin dodo zoto gore ke chate chon nordin ne kare lakbo yore dina dewa chepcha tamchi radlatri 상제제 고망 토바 야 달라더니 dewa 동대지 용마요 대답지 삼대가 이런지래 대외들은 독산지 인민생민 좀 동네 말이 다들 잠벌는 게 동네 로아르도 메당 돈로 속진 송미 탐지다 강의는 동네시 봐도 강의다 단지니 송아리 동네 말이 다된 돈이 좋은데 단지들이 또르고나더니 드신 소자 잡다 또르고 말이 드신 소자가 남는 거 사가 매일하고 동네 단지 또르고요 말이 배열 가는 문제에서 잡배들이 드신 소자 잡는 들이 드신 소자 잡탈이 사자들이 소장 라면들이 미소 라면들 쟁 신토 담실 라면들 좋아서 가옥돌들이 도그들이 제다가 자동들이 그것도 로지스틱을 시행요래 베세터들이 다다디 또르고 말이 드치가 가리는 또르고 난디 또르고 말이 내가 다시 강만하면 손발이 따버를 잘좀 본종데 봐데 난디의 수가 또르고요. 다산 촉색을 벌받고 또르고요. 예피로 탑지 또르고 설sem나 때는 예피로 지막다도 다디요 말이 공이 급자 뜨거뜨거 많이 돼서 그 말이 저 나디요 바깥에 예피로 지작적인에 돼서 그 말이 예피로 뭐 여기서 네 나디메와 차지 이게 그걸 마치를 보고지 보통 좋은 데를 하자 제가 뭐요 왜 보고지 이거 그러지를 뭐다 요 말이 대회들이 주비 팔아도서 막 보고지 깔래 같이 자고는 콩콩배와 주바요래 짐바요래 저섬요래 또르요래 삼대요래 시랍요래 대럽비 시랍 팔아도서 막 마가 보고지다 보잖아 대상화지 띠와가 삼발에 띠리 띠와가 요지를 팔아도서 막 딱딱 상대요래 대다고서 하고래 저 들들한들이 삼대 용띠지 오늘 일단은 토리메 대와 탐기 요래디 네 로드기 미기고 대와 탐기 용내서 로드기 가리리 로르도 동네 나바다도 잡차만 보래 저는 잡는 마고 이래 동네에 찍 봐도 말이 도도도 찍 막아와 설을 좀 보면 이래들이 네 단지 치 타라 따라 시작을 해 라세자그 라세자로 주동이를 탑타고 말이 오 다출레 박차사절티 레 박차티 부초다 빠져만이 주 라세자고 문제래리 양당 양들이 주도를 터만 보셔도 이게 연구요리 대소 단지면은 다주동이를 탑타가리 semkorang라시 대식이 보면 대타가면이 예르다 산쪽선 남아지게 다 단지에서 돌타고 요래 마도 돌타고요 말이지 되면 다 법안념이들 산쪽 sem대 벌봐서 노데레
So now I've said a lot of some things, and I just thought it would be good to explain that. However, it's also important that we know how to bring it all into a simple essence. So what is it really that I am speaking about? So any kind of happiness, large and small, even the highest state of enlightenment, even the slightest happiness we experience, all is a quality of love. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind, and all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. Whatever suffering there is in the world, in the 6 realms of samsara, experienced by humans or animals, beings with a body or without a body, whatever suffering there is, it all comes from self-grasping. And how can we destroy self-grasping? Even an atomic bomb cannot destroy self-grasping. An atomic bomb could easily wipe out the world, but it cannot destroy self-grasping. For example, in the past, in human history, an atomic bomb was thrown onto Japan, and the radiation, the toxic radiation, then had a negative influence on the environment there, on the animals there, the people there, the fruits, anything that grew there. All of that became kind of polluted. So a lot of things kind of shifted in their shape and became really toxic. But still, self-grasping could not be destroyed. In the Golden Temple prayer, it says it is through the king of the view and bodhicitta that we can destroy self-grasping, and that's the only way. Nothing else can destroy self-grasping. So look at your mind when altruism, a wish to help others, arises. How does your mind feel when bodhicitta arises? So we want to put others before ourselves. So, for example, you have two people in a chair. You will have somebody else sit there. So if you have bodhicitta, you will be easily able to do that because you don't think about yourself. One example is the way a mother loves her child. Is the mother loves her child so much that she completely forgets about herself, and she only thinks about the child and never about herself. And therefore she's able to do anything for the child. No matter how difficult it gets, the mother will never hate the child. She will always be patient. And the mother will be generous, the mother will not hurt the child, she will be patient, she always thinks of the child. She is diligent in looking after the child, and also as a result may develop wisdom. So just by looking after a child, out of great love, she perfectly practices the 6 paramitas. So in brief, it all comes from love. It is said in the prayer, love is the only medicine for sentient beings. It is the only source of all happiness. So then for suffering, there are 100 different kinds of suffering. There's so much suffering in the world, but in the end, there's only one suffering, and that is, it is whatever we don't like, this feeling of dislike or unhappiness in the mind. And often when the self-grasping is too strong, people even commit suicide. They think that now they can bring an end to their suffering, but it doesn't bring an end to the suffering because karma, the karmic imprints will continue on. It is just like you have taken like a picture of your action, which is now this imprint. And as long as this image is there, this imprint is there, you will relive it over and over again. For example, within just 1 hour, you have to die the same way over and over again. And that will go on until there's no more self-grasping. Only when there is no more self-grasping will we become free from suffering. And that is just the nature of things. So what we need to understand is that it is only bodhicitta that can destroy self-grasping, and there is nothing else than the two kinds of bodhicitta that can destroy self-grasping. And in the Vajrakilaya practice, for example, this is the kila of bodhicitta. And so now I've said a few things, but you may think that, oh, it's Rinpoche has said so. But it's not that's just because I have said so, but it's actually also something that you have to discuss with each other.
So last part, I didn't hear the translator. Do you hear in the zone? Everyone here or not yet? So Rinpoche said the Rinpoche said he's going to take 20 minutes break. Do you hear that?
No, well, I did not hear that.
Okay, so the last section we didn't hear, and so take a short break, okay?
Hello, Kampo. Yeah, he is coming back. He's just taking a break right now.
Okay, so now it works. Sorry, I was muted. But I don't know if you can still hear me. Can you? Yes. All right.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, happened now. So Rinpoche said that so you should not just leave it with Rinpoche said so and then that's it, but you also should discuss that with each other. And you have the two campos here that you can ask questions and you can ask them any questions and they will answer to any of your questions without any difficulty. But you really have to discuss it and think it's true. Is it really true what Rinpoche said or not? Not just listen to it, but also really discuss it with each other. It's important. So anyways, Rinpoche says, now we take a break for 20 minutes.
Tempola,
Yes.
would you please talk about the stupa project going on a little bit?
Stupa project, yeah.
Yes.
So stupa, Garchen Enlightened Tara Stupa. So we try to build a Garchen Tara Stupa in the world. And we finished one in the Toulon. some kind of starting, but not yet finishing. So still, we have the project, and I think we have a flyer somewhere that, I don't know, can you, David, share the flyer? Then I can explain it better. People can see clearly. It's
Amanda, you have the slide.
yeah, can you send that what's up? Then I can put in the screen share, I think better.
Lisa, please try now.
Oh,
Is
okay.
this the right one, Kambola?
Yes, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Join the Tara Stupa mandala, and this is the project. And see here's the donation will support building of stupa in Tibet and in many other countries. So I'm working with it in Tibet stupa. This morning I'm also talking with them. It's 2 hours, and about this project about stupa. We are right now is very on the good path. So hopefully coming next year, so we can start next year. Then this stupa, we have this, it. So and many other countries for world peace. So this stupa with bird and the reason is because for world peace, and also we create our own generate accumulation merit. Then each sponsor will receive one of the 100 crystal tara to become part of this mandala of merit, similar to one bead joining the other beads. Okay, so can you move down a little bit? And the point is, when this year when we was in the Arizona, we offering 108 crystal this Tara image statue is offering to the Garchen Rinpoche. So he give offering to Beg, and he asks give to all this stupa who donating, and then who get this Tara crystal is the same as like you get the mala beads. The mala beads. Mala has 108 beads, so you are become part of that in the mandala. So if you don't receive the Tara this crystal, it's please you can join this part of that, and you can get and contact with is in Gadroma. And then the donation is also mentioned about here very clearly, and minimum is 500, and so you can go up, and it's someone due to financial situation. Then also we offer 300 this crystal. So then they also have lots of message about Garchen Rinpoche, how important this Tara Stupa. So maybe this Tara Stupa is Garchen Rinpoche's his own vision. He built first in Arizona. So then I try to build wherever good connection source comes. So all this donation is we're going to support wherever the bird Tara Stupa and all the spiritual matter things, and many mantras, mandalas, and sculptures, and many all these important Dharma object going into the each stupa. So we're going to provide that, use this donation, and then also donation going to use in Tibet stupa. So that's this most important just information. Then, do you have any questions? No.
If you have the question, you can raise your hand so we can
Yeah.
talk.
So those no questions, yeah.
Katsu raised her hand.
Hi,
Okay.
Rinpoche, where is gonna be the next stupa you're planning to build?
It's we have some areas, you know, already some area is land ceremony blessing ready. So, you know, until starting, so I don't really share the specific location. So some area already we did a land ceremony. So then you know included like maybe 3-4 already I did the land ceremonies, different areas.
Are you going to announce it before you build? Because I'm hoping to be there.
Yes.
Actually.
You're welcome. Okay, Linda.
Hi. I have a question about suicide. A friend just yesterday attempted to commit suicide. And I know generally the feeling, what Garchen Rinpoche was saying about how it doesn't bring an end to suffering. I just wondered if you could say a little more about that, please.
So that, yeah, Rinpoche share lots, you know, instructions about that. So the actually, and the main point is due to our own karma, and another is due to our, you know, self-grasping, right?
Yes.
And that's why we have to generate love, compassion. So love, compassion really helps reduce our self-grasping. Then as long as arise love, compassion within our own mind, then in this world, no one going to suicide. So if love, compassion arise, so we're not going to create negative karma. And as long as love, compassion arise, everyone has a happy, joy. So that's so far understand his teaching. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So Illyria.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my question. Thank you very much for clarifying about suicide. I also had a question there, but my second question was, Rinpoche repeated many times that suffering comes when we wish happiness just for ourselves, no? But I also, in my personal experience, due to a very high suffering, I also understood that if I also don't develop self-compassion to myself, I will always feel as a victim, which is not exactly the way to go out from the suffering. So how we can understand that the real happiness comes from wishing happiness to all, and the others will be free from suffering, but at the same time, self-compassion as a way of self-healing, because as long as we are wounded, also we belong to the suffering being somehow, no?
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's you know, we do to our self-grasping, and then even we want happiness, but create causes of suffering. So we don't know how to create causes of happiness. because due to self-grasping and ignorance. The main point is we arise, create a love, compassion, or something, like kindness for others. So that really helps, I think, open our mind. And then that, feeling is positive. So positive feeling is into ourselves, and then that, release our suffering. So that's why the main point is, I think, first we have to open mind and think about others, think about others, create a kind for others. And then that bring to ourselves is a positive feeling. And then we recognize we are suffering. So sometimes, like, due to the ignorance, we don't recognize we are suffering. Due to self-grasping, we don't know we are suffering. We don't know how to love ourselves. We don't know how to love for others, I think. So that's the reason we generate a love of compassion, and that helps open mind, and then we really know how to create love, compassion ourselves, and we know how to love, compassion for others. So that bring the true happiness for ourselves and for others. So that's my understanding. Thank you. Then any questions? Okay, so money.
Yes. Hello. Thank you. I'm wondering, so if you have a lot of anger, then it's my understanding from the teachings that we need to wish happiness for others, have love, get rid of anger when you are just in a very, very negative space, I guess, is how do you achieve being able to give love and compassion when you can't see beyond your anger?
So you mean that we don't see our own anger, how to we can love, compassion for others, you mean?
Yeah, I'm
like how to reduce anger.
Yeah, like I'm holding on to my anger and I can't see past that to give any love and compassion to anyone else. I can't get past the anger.
Yes.
How do we do that?
Yeah, it's that's not that easy. So that's why Rinpoche mentioned very clearly that we have self-grasping is so strong and many lifetimes habituate. So not easy to get rid of. And that's the reason. And another he's sharing, instruction is, meditating, like looking to our own nature mind and recognize our own nature. So that's I think it's a very profound solution. And we look into our own nature, so we're seeing ourselves. And then that really helps we seeing our own anger too. So usually hard to recognize, of course, our affective emotions. And due to, it's like I mentioned about, due to our own self-grasping. And so this strong fixation to in the worldly level, everything is very hard to recognize our own problems and afflictive emotions. So then also due to this strong fixation and afflictive emotion, very hard to generate a love compassion too. And that's the reason. So we have to bring our thing together is the method, love and compassion, and wisdom, and looking onto our own nature. And to bring this together is important, not separate. So that's why we, look to our own mind and meditate, seeing our own mind. And then that really helps become arise love, compassion for others. And also that really recognize seeing our afflictive emotions. So that's the, my understand. Thank you. Control something?
Thank you.
Hello, and Tashi Delek, Kampo Rinpoche. Do you know of any practices or analytical meditations for developing a strong renunciation to worldly conceptual thinking? Thank you.
So yes, that's the four thoughts meditation. So we use four thoughts meditation. It is intellectual meditation. It really helps arise renunciation. Thank you. Next, control Sunamating. Control Sunam.
Hi. I have when I first started practicing the Vajrayana, I did not understand Samaya, and I received a commitment to only practice Tumo under direct guidance. And I had a vision to go into retreat, and I've been in that retreat for a year. As I was doing retreat on Guru Yoga, I recognized the stories of the Mahasiddhas, like Marpa. There was a emanation of a Vajra in the sky, but he was told to instead listen to his guru. So now I recognize this to be wrong. So how may I purify this commitment?
I didn't understand clearly. So your question, sorry about.
Okay, I'll try to
So I think it's the point is anyway, break the samaya and the vowels. Everything has a solution can repairing again, and you know, use the law of compassion practice. So that's why I think we all know, so Rinpoche always share, you know, important samaya is the bodhicitta. So long as we create bodhicitta, then all the whatever we broken samaya is, I think, restoring again. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's one question on the chat, and they're asking, the question is, what is the difference between motivation and intention? Because it seems like motivation starts an action, but intention guides the action. I am unclear on the difference. Please explain.
So these words is like using in the Tibetan is I think same. We use that two different ways like motivation and intention. I think it's the same words. I mean the different words, same meaning. Thank you. And then Josephine.
Thank you, Venerable. My question is, I see this in the Garchen community. This, you're familiar with this symbol, the Mani wheel, and then there's the mantra "liberation by touch" around it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I could learn the how to pronounce the syllables in the circle around the outer edge for the touch. You know this one where it has this symbol right here, liberation by touch.
Okay, what is Asha Samaha? Okay, yes, Asha Samaha.
Oh yeah.
Asha Samaha.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would someone be able to type that in the chat? Is that okay to ask? Or is there somewhere online I can find it?
I think you can find online.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. Someone typed it in.
You ask Google. Google always have everything.
Thank you for your kindness. Thank you.
Google is a Dharmakaya. Lisa, please.
Hi, Kambola. How are you?
Yes, good. Yeah.
Okay. So what if we're doing good with this generation of bodhicitta, and then we see like somebody commit some kind of heinous crime or do something unspeakable or horrible, and we're not necessarily angry, but we get sad, and maybe a little bit of anger arises. How do we get back on track? Do we just recognize that, okay, I'm going off track, and do more practice and more meditation, or pray for
Yes.
this person?
So I think our in this kind of time, generation time, many people has these issues, I think problems, because we see someone making something, create problems themselves or others, and we seeing them, it's like we lose our patience. And then we think like Dharma practice not really working, not benefiting. So that's due to that, many people also, give up spiritual path. And that is, of course, is obstacle, because also we don't know how to generate love, compassion, truly love, compassion. So that also we have love, compassion, attachment, love, compassion, not unconditional love and compassion. So that's why we see someone create more negativity, activity, and some harming for others. We have to generate more love, compassion to that person. So that person creates so much negative karma. That's why it's, we know the Buddha's story about shape-shifting. So shape-shifting, he didn't have angry to the person who going to kill 900 people. So he arise.
Ready for your patient in room 6.
Room 6, okay.
Yeah.
Shall I come now or yet?
Oh, hold on, let me check this for me. One moment.
So he arise compassion to the person, because Buddha's, the shape captain recognized he going to kill 900 people that create so much negative karma. So he didn't arise anger, he tried to the person. He arise love, compassion. Same, right now we in the world who create more negative activity in the world, rather than we hatred to that person, then we, look to another way, like create love, compassion to that person. So that I think really helps transform. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimball.
Did you have a question? There's another question, Kempa. I think she's got her physical hand raised.
Thanks. I was trying to get the recognize hand waving gesture up, but it didn't really work. So the challenge I'm having now is applying what I know about the Dharma to what's happening in the world. So I'm Jewish. I'm still devastated by the really horrific, brutal attacks by Hamas. I'm devastated by all the people also in Gaza dying. As part of my Tonglen practice, I took as a main focus one of the Hamas fighters who I heard a recording of where he was gleefully telling his parents he'd murdered 10 Jews, which I think helps my development of compassion. But then there's sorry.
We don't have much time, so I think important is, of course, like we have this situation in the world, so much going on, and we just create a love, compassion, and important is control our own anger and emotion, and much ever we can create a love, compassion. So that really helps, I think. So use this energy right now. What's going on? Use that energy, liberate ourselves. That's most important. Use that energy and support for our practice. Thank you. Now we go back to Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche.
So Rinpoche.
요, 저기들에 저기지. 근데 다다다 삼바게 용디, 삼제게 용디, 삼바를 뒤에 제와 된제와 삼대인제와 돼 마당 보이는 듯이 이제 들이 사제에 제 갖고 요래서 제 갖고 오늘 이제 탑 남아나서더니 탑만 까미 바대서 사제에 탑 집안에 강매들이 산촉샘 집에 탑지 산촉샘도 세부 줄이 제거를 카르시 실은 페인가 말에 락외소지 요 말에 샘을 랩고래서 샘을 랩고 더니 가리게 딱 당부 로록스지 담제라 마다 보연 듯이 송거래서 왕통 대 왕촌이 다른 까부 개와지 제일 정제더니 사제 탑을 개발하더니 샘기바도 샘기바들 샘기 담제를 마다 보연 듯이 송거래서 이 가리스는 마다 보연 듯이 송거래들 마다 보니 뛰어와서 뛰는 뛰다다 마다 보다면 마다 보여 제와 요리 샘기 담을 라메 마다 보연 듯이 뛰는 샘을 라상 샤토 그래 이리 마다 보니 못해 주는 마 저를 보고 같이 망 보고 저래요 말이 나라지랑 나 민생 제요를 빼대다래 대마도 요 말에서 대 말이지 그러지 끼와 끼리가 샘들었다고 시제 요가 매 샘을 시제 요 말이 끼와를 끼와 제로 호동문이 양만 따고 상제서 상제로 양을 독들이 고라자 그거래 새로 시야 배웠대 제시배 동도네지 새로 시제 요 말이지 얘는 꼬아자 로가리다 니 돈서는 참 따때 갖고 요래 드리디는 로아를 가는 손나더니 너게 마음 올면 대화 용용래서 하고서는 다 되는 가리 손나 대화 토부터 대화 제보되는 대화 제보대 상대 고방 돌려서 대화 제보하고 요래 대외 대화 당대 동안당 잘하잖아 이렇게 다사 주선 마제와 제와 털어 당 심진 상태는 마다 보여 드시던 거지 마다 보이는 듯이 정보는 그리 랑은 제시 랑매바 유협에 파파만 맞아봐 제자요마 차파만 맞아봐 제자요마 다들 파만데 주망사 보이면 들이 다대로 전노지지 파만이데 남산이들이 남주지지 파만이데 다 뭐라는 것들이 탑다 시합니래 내래들이 대지야 동다 내가 단디는 단지니디를 저러면 동네들이 이양 생 탑다 시합냐 생 어찌과래 대에다가 돈남대만 하고는 그돌로 다다 이다지 요래 대회는 들이대다 나오 파망 말대봤다 책장 매대 대람서 하고 그래 오다 샘들이 세지요만 해 저 장미가 많이 그래서 롱로 받는 만 보서 온거지 뭐로 그서 온거들이 다 감성 성질이 다가돼 갖고 성질이 다가하고는 잠시는 최더 차갑다냐면 속차요래 그리 사거든 속차 됐다고 요래 대답들이 이제 무슨 가까 그래서 말이다 나한테 나한테 소남단 해서나 소남의 죽을 위해서 토고를 라면 라도 매일이지 때문에 또 누가이나 들이 소남은 이제 라면을 때니 그리고 저러가지 잡들 속 채보들이 저거 채보 나한테 빼때 좀제 빼고 제 빼때를 들리더니 다다다 속차담이 주보 채보들이 속차 척차만 뭐 돈에 당들이 갈아사서 대다다 로도담는 속을 대다가 빼방고 손 돈나 들이다 파만 맞지 받겠다 매대 대야 람사하고서나 오 들이 대답들랑가 아마지를 동네오나 들이라게 될 때가 제가 너가 먼저 딱 제다 오 땅이 제사래 다 동나 제사래 대답을 하고 그러래
So we spoke about this loving kindness, or we said this like very gentleness, and so from that, from this gentleness arises love, essentially. And so we often say that we have to develop a perception of seeing all beings like a mother sees her child, and the Buddha said that that could be difficult, and that is because it could be difficult. The Buddha gave many different methods for cultivating bodhicitta. The teachings are rich in methods and do not require so much difficulty. So the method is all a method to cultivate bodhicitta. And when we say cultivate bodhicitta, bodhicitta is something that has to arise from within the mind, meaning that you may be able to speak very nicely about bodhicitta, but that's often not much benefit. Bodhicitta is also not something you can manufacture with your hands. It's something that has to appear in your mind. And the way it appears in your mind is, the Buddha said, by seeing all beings as your mother. So first you bring your mother to mind. And this is something we always do, no matter what we practice, when we receive an empowerment or any other Dharma practice, anything other virtues that we may do. It always begins with this motivation of bodhicitta. Buddha said you have to see all beings like a mother and a child, like a mother sees her child. And why did he say that? It's because the mother loves her child very much. And that is something we can all relate to in this world. When we think about how much a mother loves her child, that is an idea that can easily arise in our mind. And then we have to go further than that and think that it's not just this mother. So in this life, for example, if a woman has a lot of children, maybe she has 10 children, or in my own family, we had 8 children. But it's not only that, it's not only those children that a mother has in her life. And so in order to understand that, we have to first look at our mind. Can the mind die or not? Does it die or not die? The mind does not die. You have to understand that the mind is never born and it never dies. And the mind will go on. And for as long as it wanders in samsara, especially in the lower realms, there will be suffering. So wherever the mind goes, in the 6 realms of samsara we go, the only final state of happiness or bliss is the state of enlightenment. And so may they be free. So the prayer goes, may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, and may they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So the teachings are methods to give rise to bodhicitta where it has not yet arisen. And the method essentially is to see all beings like a mother sees her child. And then after seeing, after bringing to mind your mother or your child, then think that my mind doesn't die. So I will go from life to life. And in each of these lifetimes, I have either sentient beings have been my parents or I have been their parents. But there is not a single being who has not been my child or my parent. It's just like my present parents. So the outer example of this kind of parenthood or mother and child, the love, is the union of the sky and the earth being one. And the inner example is the union of method and wisdom. So ultimately, we realize that there is no self and there is no other. There is no dualistic existence. And we realize that by unifying method and wisdom within our mind. So on the relative level, there's the perception of self and other. And on that level, we have to bring to mind that all beings on that level have been my parents. And then my mind cannot actually die. I will take on countless births. That is also explained in many of the scriptures. For example, Nagarjuna spoke about it, saying that first you have to try to fathom the number of sentient beings. There are so many sentient beings. And not just human beings, there's beings, for example, inhabiting all the waters, the oceans of the world. There's even more in the waters. And then there's all these beings that appear separate, but are they separate individuals? They are not. But depending on the level of one's own merit, one receives a certain kind of body in a given lifetime. God, a human, or an animal, depending on one's own karma. For example, in the animal realm, if one is born in the ocean, sometimes beings have a very large body, and then thousands of small beings feed on this body, and so forth. So there's an unlimited number of life forms, large and small, which all are manifestations of karma. You can learn more about that by practicing or studying the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. But in brief, what we need to know is that there is not a single being who has not been our parent. And that is something that has to appear in your mind very clearly and instantaneously. Everyone is my mother. So think of your mother. If your mother suffers, how do you feel? Really ask yourself that question, like, how would I feel if I see my mother in misery? Of course, I love my mother, so I would not want her to suffer. I would feel that, oh, my mother is suffering. Of course, I would have a very strong feeling. I would feel very, very sad about that. So this is the first feeling that you need to recognize. Pastor?
선수의 적대라 되리들이 상태고 봐서 그 강의들이 다다 그 라랑 소소 약합로 상모도 선수의 적대지나 그리 다다 로랑가리 상모다나 랑가데 가와가 로스바네 모라스나 나가 속에지도 약합에지도 약합도 면은 매직들 가게 좋다고 말이지 가사칼 랑가 상모디 약합에지도 약합도 속에지도 다만만이 차고더니 지소문지 도쪽에 될라더니들이 지소문지 약합까지 뭐 랑가르더니 약합도 가르인체 보래 약합 탐지 이 약합로 장미를 뛰는 레드도 잡아다요나 랑가를 도거들이 약합을 가르지 이 랑가리 사강 총강 가르는 달지 차마디 총강 민강 리포기 총통로 로다데 약합가 가르지 오 로다는 저랑 소소라니야 로다는 이 아차를 띠지 띠는 도메인 로도다 하고 요래 로다데 약합가 가르면 로다 민강들이 사강 도강 총강 점강 가르나 대삼지 약합 집하다 하장까지 제보래도 그래서 고용을 들이 삼지지 이 새로 가리지 아무 동시 약합도 돼 가사까지 참아까지 지어다 하고는 또 우리 가정 제보래서 새로 초와들고 따뜻히 삼들고 요래 오다 약합으로 삼들고 대 양당도 거는 이 약합으로 제보 이 약합들하지 다 대당 보티다 만나서로 들이 대화도 동안 담는 연거리 대탑이 레게 연거리 너는 약합지 봐도 매는 맘만 대탑이 요 말에 딱고 봐잡아 타마데 따라서 건데 내 성점에들이 잡아 맘만 담이고 약합도 가진 제보래 되지 소소라는 약합들 이 삼세 제보 연거리 얘들이 새로 좋아지 뭐지 얘들 약합이 오도록 잡대 요래지
So this is a way to cultivate love just by looking around us in the outer world. And also, for example, you can think about your own country. For example, the roads of your country. There are roads that cars and other vehicles can travel on. We can use those roads. We can go anywhere. And who made these roads? It's the country. No one person can come and make a road like that. But it's the collective effort of the people of the country making those roads. So when you're traveling on a road, remember the kindness of your country. And of course, there's all kinds of different countries. Some are better than others. Some experience more happiness, some more suffering. But no matter what is the state of the country, they all have done something for their people, like building the roads or building shops and restaurants and hospitals and schools, banks and courthouses and so forth. So there's a whole infrastructure built by the country for the people. And every time you see or use these facilities, think that this is, I can use this because of my country. It's the kindness of my country. So that's also how I feel when I see a school where little children go to school. When I see a child go to school, I feel that, oh, this is the kindness of the country. They built that school. So whenever you can bring it to mind and think that this is my country, they built that. It's very precious. I treasure them. So that is a way to cultivate love. In that moment, love really arises. Love for your country arises. So this is how love actually first arises, by first understanding, like really the reason you think, for example, I can use this and why, because of the country. So the country is very kind and so on. So you think it through and then a feeling arises. And when that feeling arises, that is really when love, for example, for your country arises. And then if you keep thinking about it continuously, then a real kind of I would say this patriotism. You really you feel like a patriot toward your country. You care for your country, and so of course in one country, then depending on who is leading the country, people may experience more happiness or suffering, but that's again also due to karma. But in brief, we need the country either way, because if we don't have a country, people would not have kind of a vessel, a place where they could survive. Without the protection of a country, you would have thieves and robbers running around. You would be safe nowhere. So we do need the country, and therefore the country is very, very kind to us. So when you think about it in this way, then love for your country will arise.
Pipa Carido, yung dito sila. Dito tayo gigi yung dito. Dito tayo samdi machabari. Dito yung muni lamje tiwa china. Tiwa china te yung kore. Gomna tate tiwa china. Dito tayo samu tang kadang je train ba ate. Train zoa kare ta kare sila. O koto tayo samdi china. Samdi te koto lo pa piki ore. Soso lo sa piki ore. Samdi da yi yung mai. Ranga dandi kati kinga samte cheren rogo yore. Tiri samte tiki dagi kinga rangi tongi hiji cho tong samte yongti. Tiri nangkyu jisibji pama ma jewa chikyang meba. Te tabji la dewa di dungi la char sama. O dungi chikyang meba tata mate dela dungi meba samni nga mari. Mate dela dungi yongo yore. Dungi yongo tekare. O tekare kodu le ni wasa yakwa ike taka yore. Dungetia yapore, dungetia le take ores. O nyawa in sonsu de chukang jawore. Minkang so sakji chesa jawore. Dungetia yapore. Dunge yongna de tabjige. Ko chuko yore sama. Li dunge me dewa de tesini. Taba cheme nangki je chemchi sung jin no je til samche gomba. Je de ro gomore. De magong de chebe ngayen zama le ko yore. Tri yang de ga jini shoga yinje.
And so then we cultivate love by thinking about the inner sentient beings. So not just the outer world, but the inner sentient beings. And so I've said that there's not a single sentient being who has not been my parent in the past. And so also not just parents, but there's all kinds of beings who do good things for others. For example, there is some scientists and there are some teachers in various fields of knowledge and so forth, religion and whatever we do, anything we do, even if we use the restroom, there can be a benefit that is created. And so think about all the benefit that is created, and think about the good qualities of others, and think that their qualities are really incredible. So when you think in this way, then love for them will arise. So that is called remembering the kindness. And after we remember kindness, we have to repay kindness. Here we should think that, so when I love others, then what's the real benefit of that? Is it that, am I benefiting them, or am I benefiting myself? If you love others, grasping diminishes. The more you think about yourself, the more self-grasping increases. Ultimately, when you cultivate bodhicitta, it is that the purpose of yourself and others occurs spontaneously or simultaneously. So when you make this prayer, for example, may all sentient beings have happiness and be free from suffering. And that's what we wish for them, but don't just think about this life. There will be suffering in this life. They will encounter suffering depending on their own karma. Negative karma has to become purified. And in that sense, suffering is not necessarily so negative. It is a necessity. It is something positive. It means that we don't have to go to the lower realms. But even the lower realms, like hell, for example, we can see them as like a kind of a place where we purify ourselves, or a hospital, or a place where we get a surgery done. So it is something where something meaningful is accomplished because we purify negative karma, and as a result of doing that, we will eventually achieve great happiness that is free of all suffering. So when you cultivate immeasurable love, you should think of it in this more vast way. When you cultivate love for those inner sentient beings in the world. So it is something that you have to habituate to. If you don't habituate to it, then it will be very difficult for real love to arise within your mind stream. And so this is what I will speak about next.
사족 예수 접대는 양도할 도서서 대유마 게다근 제버들이 내가 드마도 좀마도 난 셀도 타마 대신에 뭐요래 데르들이 이메와 하고서 데르들이 사계에 상축상 저지 예비를 얻으러 돈이 고쳐오고 돈이 고쳐 돈이 지막거리 다음 보러 맞아봐 다음 보러 맞아 이양 맞아봐 들이 고아들이 샤는 거리 다음 보러 또 셈을 루도 말이 셈조를 셈나 갔다 와 양다는 어디 얘기요래 셈 코랑은 이도 가면 딱 제당 셈 코랑은 나 갔다 와 이메와 들 로를 루고 가게 돼 이디스 처럼 거리면 대답을 들이 돈다고 내 말라 들이 고아샤는 거라 이게 사바체비 받지나 이 삼세대 이제 마디나 중가래 요리들 저 파니 나니 나도 나나나나나 랑발을 돌아 나나나나 사거리 나한테 카와 빠빠나 예사 거리 얘네들이 세도 똑같아 박차지 땡들 따니 멍tok 따로 못해 이게 로아를 돌아 이게 사는 요래 저기가 대보고 콜로스와는 이 차한 거리 이렇게 갈아때 사는 거리 샤오마 대양들이 좀더 만디 다 소로 대야들이 마다 봤다 알저들이 거단 감라미 성무지 띵탐지 거단 감라미 요래 내가 다고 줄여서 마다 줄여서 다 마다 이 상상대 다기디가 로다 예비가 로니 제바가 다 같이 요래 대사워서 서로 땅 들이 랑그 셉지제를 배우요와 이것이 생삼대 되게 자꾸도 셉지 탐지 되지 땅념제 어디 가까운데 자리 대 도를 가야 되게 비 셉지 탐지 만남 가다냐 비 셉지 탐지 되지 들이 사바 세비 봐 되지 탐지 사바 제서 봐 사부체를 잡고 삼보주고 뭐는 끌어 잡아 사바다가 또좀 얘네들이 소소하게 양놈들이 따따따 잡아 탐지를 사바체도 가로대로 사바를 잡다고요 들이 대들이 니게랑 이게들이 속자 차와등 대답들이 니게랑 이게지 들이 니게랑 이게는 대들 파티 쪽탈을 들이랑 이게 타바랑 이게 세세 초대 바로 나서 말하게 들이 수능 거 저런도요 르가에서 사와 가리세는 들이 돈담은 대방문이야 이 산속생도 용띠 돈담 산속생도 타니고 차고요 그래지
And so now we spoke about the inner sentient beings and the outer universe. And so then when we cultivate love, and this love is sent out to those higher beings, it becomes faith and devotion and the pure perception. And then when it touches sentient beings, it becomes some compassion or altruism. And with a pure perception, when it becomes a pure perception, you will even see that anything that is composed of the 5 elements is actually the deity or the 5 Buddhas. And so, and where we live, this planet, this earth that we live on, is composed of the 5 elements. So these deities really are our supporting ground for where we live. And then also our inner body is really composed of the deity, the 5 elements. For example, our flesh is the earth element, the blood is the water element, the body heat is the fire element, the breath is the wind element, and your mind is the space element. So the 5 elements really make up the outer and the inner universe, and they are the deity. And so when you realize that through cultivating love, self-grasping dualistic perception diminishes, and your ordinary dualistic consciousness becomes primordial awareness. When there is self-grasping, the consciousness creates the 6 realms of samsara. When you cultivate bodhicitta, self-grasping diminishes, and you ripen into the pure, illusory body of the deity. So therefore, it is also through bodhicitta that you will begin to understand the meaning of the Vajrayana. So the new tantric traditions, such as the Chakasamvara, Tantra, and so forth, all speak about the pure nature of our aggregates, elements, sense sources. There are many teachings on that, and I don't need to go into much detail here. So now, but what we need to understand here is that everything is pure by nature. Everything is an enlightened activity of a Buddha. The 5 elements are the Buddha, are a deity. My own body is the deity. When you habituate to this thought, eventually you will mature into the rainbow-like body of the deity, and all impure karmas and habitual tendencies of the 6 grams will become purified. So it is because of these karmic imprints that we experience both happiness and suffering. And through altruism or bodhicitta, all of these can become purified because our true nature is Buddha nature. And if we cultivate bodhicitta, we come back to our true nature. So therefore, the Buddha himself had said, completely tame your own mind. This is own mind. When you purify your own mind, you will realize is the space-like nature of the mind. So when we purify karma, then the point of purifying is so that we finally realize that self and other do not exist. So what is there then if there's no self and other? There is this vast expanse of space. Now, for example, if you have 100 phones, all of these phones are powered by one electricity. So you may have different bodies, but they all have the same mind. And the 6 afflictive emotions arising in this mind lead to the results of happiness and suffering that we experience temporarily like an illusion. But in the inner mind is Buddha nature. And on that level, we are always inseparable from others. And we can understand that when we cultivate bodhicitta. So therefore, when we cultivate bodhicitta, we actually begin to realize emptiness. And so what do we mean with emptiness? Understanding emptiness means to know that there is no real self. And because there is no real self, there's also no real other that exists. And so we are speaking about the mind and not the body. The mind is more important than the body. The mind is like space. We have mentioned that many times, repeatedly. Look at your own mind and really try to find, is there something there, duality there? Am I separated my mind from others? And just like space is not separate from anything, you're not separate from anything either. Your mind is like space. It just seems that there is this dualistic separate existence because temporarily the mind is in a confused state, which diminishes if you give rise to love and compassion. But you have to bring it to mind and think about it, because if you don't think about it, if you don't habituate to this thought, then you will again fall back into old patterns. For example, when you go to sleep, and you wake up from sleeping, the first thing you think is, I slept. And then from there on, it's all me, me, me. So naturally, if you don't really reflect on that deliberately, you will always follow the same pattern of me, me, me. And you will accumulate that, keep accumulating that, just like snowflakes accumulating into thick layers of snow. Your mind becomes more and more polluted, defiled. And these habitual tendencies are what bind you. And the afflictive emotions will naturally arise from these tendencies. And the 6 realms of samsara will naturally appear, just like watching a TV show. Everything will naturally come to you and appear. But in the end, when self and never self-grasping becomes purified, all the ordinary people and forms, the world will appear as deities and the Pure Land. So the kind of the crossroad or the boundary between pure and impure is self-grasping and altruism. That's the boundary that we need to cross. So really think about it carefully. Really bring to mind that if I have to cultivate love for all, that's actually my own greatest benefit. And I can help others with my love. It will pervade them all. I must send love to all of them. And so just always think in this way. All beings have been my parents. We are not separate. I love all beings and so on. That eventually immeasurable love will arise, and you will feel love for everyone. So, for example, in the prayer for excellent conduct, it references the power of all-pervasive love. The one power that pervades all is the power of love. And so that is now, I'm speaking just from personal experience. So love is really something that you have to be able to generate that within your own mind. It has to arise within your own mind. And when it arises, compassion will naturally arise. And when love and compassion are present in your mind, then you are naturally practicing the 6 paramitas. You will do that on your own. It happen on its own. And as a result, you will naturally become liberated. Milarepa said, practice virtue in whatever you do. That's the perfection of method or skillful means. And so if you have love, whatever you do with body and speech, all becomes an accumulation of merit. Everything becomes merit. And every time you cultivate love, you approach, you come closer, you step closer toward realizing the ultimate.
sugar cutter me the gigi cutter reading out flop down on a sonny flop down tam flop down gigi subject cutting some three rounds with gigi my one jumping like you gigi in some the aja cutting chimbori the team maturity select carrier gigi subject cutting chimbori daily out the Kiva terribly three rounds they want the devil lamp to so the ledge of the maximum Sanjay Chukarin Chibores. This is how you got into this several theory. Drink it as a twat, something. This something the Lamdan Kima, Taz, 3,000. Roda versus Sanjay Mugata Sanjay of what so. That is how you have the Zokangata. No go, this is how you to the toilet. Simply something no go, that is Zokang, what is the worry. That was 70 bodies I took the Yaboy Mahako. What is our safety or the leader? More my jelly, jelly, young round over it. More water. This is double gigin. This is a kang, Tinita, Sakang, Sakang, Lekati, Sama, Carding Chibori, Samity. Sokang, Sonate, Trijaka, Lekati, Sama, Carding Chibori, Sami. The Council of Sama, Tokichi, some simply younger, this some jelly. This paying one that nephew carry a tire. Tarangi to Mapani, Mani, Coxon, married. That doubling the paying gold, the carry paying something, finger it, something, sorry, teenage race. Oman women, teenage tree, Pani, Cocoman, women, the year cock. This is a matter. Teenage long to the Oman women moment, I'm a ping or something. This days in, didn't mind the man go to your money. Demony. Naked, name or the guy about to do a just to Madame Nara doing some. The mind about the dog is come up about it, 3 simple charge. This is a shock with my child over the data pie over to me. Rolam Tamsida is that the Panang something that you teach him or your then pretty much already.
So now, since we are here in this human world, we travel on the roads of the country, or we travel on airplanes, or we're using restaurants or shops and so on. And every time you use some of these facilities or infrastructures, always think of the teachers, really. For example, they teach us how to do all of these things. That is why whenever I go to a school or hear about it, I think of the kindness of the teachers. And they are really extremely kind. They teach us anything, such as some science and anything that we need to know in this world. And then there is the teachers who teach us karma and everything beyond this world, who open our eyes to karma. The Buddha with his teachings of the Dharma. And so when you remember that kindness, a real feeling of gratitude and love arises in your mind. And so that's also very important. When you feel grateful and gratitude arises, love arises from that. And so, for example, we make this prayer: may I attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So every time, what this is to say now is that every time this love arises, for example, you're grateful and love arises, immediately recognize it and think that now this love has arisen. I have to make sure I don't lose this love. I must put it into the treasure house of all the Buddhas so I never lose this love. In other words, I have to dedicate that love. I have to dedicate it for all beings. So first, always we cultivate the motivation of bodhicitta. Then in the middle, we always sustain this feeling of love. And in the end, we dedicate that cause of happiness for all sentient beings, because if we don't dedicate it, we may lose our merit. There's 4 causes that diminish our merit. So we have to dedicate. Whenever you go to a school or a restaurant, or you meet anyone who's doing working somewhere, just think of their kindness. Remember them with gratitude. And so when you feel everywhere you go, when you feel thank you, very grateful, you will always be filled with love for everyone. So that is what you should do, because if you don't habituate to that, the problem is that you will quickly fall back into your ordinary habits of thinking me. So instead of doing that, instead of thinking that waking up, I have slept, don't think I have slept, but think I have to benefit all beings in this world. How can I benefit them? They need love. Who has the greatest love? It is intrinsic. So recite Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. For example, when you wake up from sleeping, recite Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, then go back to sleep. Then you wake up again, Om Mani Padme Hum. So then every time you wake up, you form this habit of instantly wanting to benefit sentient beings and reciting a few Mani mantras. If you do this, then you won't think about yourself. So self-grasping diminishes. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you will keep thinking of yourself and think that, oh, I have slept and now I'm going in my car, me, and I'm doing this great thing and that great thing. So you become very prideful. So even though the I doesn't really exist, you create this idea of me, and I'm doing this and I've accomplished that and so on. And so this I falls down in your mind just like rain, accumulating more and more and creating a lot of suffering. And so what happens is that when you think that me, or I'm going to suffer, something's going to happen to me, I will not accomplish and so on, then you're losing, if you think me in this way, then you lose the strength of your mind, your inner strength, your power. And that is why it is also important not to always think about me. So what's most important is in all your activities to sustain this mind of gratitude and love and a pure perception. Yes.
데이터 삼제의 공로 삼제의 셈나 오 펜셈지라 피나면 피 가시 태솜제거리 오 셉지 탐정이 삼제를 같이 피고는 상거리 이 찌메찌라는 같이 찌를 피면 다가리 미국이 보고라요 즉 아메리카로나 피지 삼제오나 미국이 그걸 맞죠 거래 오다 피리 다들이 삼제거리 왔대 세부 이제 찍이면은 삼제 찌는 팽이 따대 습지 탐지로 잡지는 대도 팽이 샘지 탐지 동의가 제주고 단지리 단디들 미주고 삼제리 오 드린 내비야 미지 다산 중심 조를 뭐지 사제의 성들이 랑사제의 공방도 봐 얘들이 코알이 탈타바디 코르지와 다디들 코코리 대하고들 들사 중심 비용이는 이 리섬 칠리섬 이좀 알아 폼보서만 도들이 많은 데들이 가는 지네들 지네들이 잠때 제배의 지네들 그래요 밤에 대탐지 지네들이 다 지나 그리 온돌이제 바꾸면 습지 탐지 세무지네 습지 탐지 동네들이 야 파티지 삼지 파동 대체가 요상다 이 제배냐면 송로래 대자지들에
So some people may have some doubts. Now, when you tell them that if you just cultivate love in your heart, you will benefit naturally. And people want to benefit others, but they have some doubt. And they wonder, will I really benefit other sentient beings if I just cultivate this wish to benefit them or like love for them? How much does it really help them? It definitely helps them, and there is a sign. For example, one person is in Tibet and another person is in America. If they love each other and then hear each other's voice, they may start crying. They're far apart, but they cry, and that's a sign of benefit. I've benefited them because of love. I've directly affected them with my love, my connection of love to them, because our mind. The basis of our mind is really one. And these tears, for example, are a sign of that. And so you can certainly benefit sentient beings, and this is how to benefit all sentient beings. The only cause of suffering for sentient beings is self-grasping. And the only medicine is love. It is said that love is the single sufficient medicine that cures 100 illnesses. So the Buddha called it the precious bodhicitta. If you have bodhicitta, you will liberate yourself, you will attain enlightenment, and you will help others become liberated. What causes us to wander in samsara? That which wanders in samsara is self-grasping. So remember this throughout the 3 times of the day and 3 times of periods of the night. You can remember it by reciting the 3-heap sutra, or you eat the mani pills. Remember the deity such as Chenrezig or Buddha Amitabha. Or at night when you go to sleep, practice the Om Ahum Vajra recitation. Remember sentient beings. Remember the suffering of sentient beings. Practice taking on their suffering and giving away your love to them. This is actually, it is said, a way, if you practice just this, it is said you're actually practicing uninterruptedly. So that's your telek.
상제때 막내지 가래 삼제레 삼제 체면 보나 삼제 삼제마 들이 사강 총강 민강 가와 성나들이 삼제가 생도 뭐 차대 들이 생도 뭐 나로 토가 됐다가 들이 레베다 토고머리 소소란 레베 토지요 들이 고소 탑제라 들이 핀방용아 됐다고래 대핀지 용원 내지 고 삼제레
That is the prayer of all the Buddhas of the 3 times. It is mentioned in the Bodhicharya Vatara. The only medicine to the suffering of all sentient beings is the teachings on the two truths, teachings of the Buddha. And the teachings of the Buddha, in essence, is a mind of love. Love is the actual cause of all happiness, the actual medicine that heals all suffering. And so give rise to love for everything and anything. For example, when you go to a restaurant, or you go to a store to buy something, or a hospital, wherever you go, you can see it as like a good field where you plant that seed of love. And if you always plant that seed, crops will grow from that wherever you go. And so if you kind of spread the seed of love on all these fields wherever you go, you will bring benefit and happiness to anyone wherever you go. Love, that is our only cause, our only source of all benefit and happiness. Actually, one more thing I want to mention, and that is, this method we mentioned, the method to give rise to bodhicitta. And so the Buddha accumulated merit throughout 3 endless aeons. And all of that can be summarized into 3 powers. So what he had accomplished can be summarized into 3 powers. The first one is the power of your own intention. And that is to come to a state where you feel I love everyone completely equally. And that is immeasurable love. So that's what you need on your part. Then the second power is the power of the great love of all the Buddhas of the 3 times. The mind, the intention of all those Buddhas is one and the same. And if you give rise to love, which is their intention, you will connect with their power. You will receive their power. And then the third power is the power of the Dharma Dhatu, and that is to realize that fundamentally no real sentient beings exist. And because all beings possess Buddha nature, they can attain enlightenment easily. So these 3 powers, if you know these 3 powers, you will free yourself of any doubts you may have about how you will bring about benefit. So understand those 3 powers and think about them. Keep them in mind over and over again. For example, when we practice the smoke offering, the Sang and the Sur smoke offerings, we always bring that to mind. We bring those 3 powers to mind. So bring them to mind just instantly. And most importantly, the first power, the power of your own intention. I want to benefit others. I have great love for all beings equally. And if you have such immeasurable love, actually you will naturally possess the other 2 powers. You will naturally possess all 3 powers. So please keep it in mind and never forget about it. Thank you.
rolling young the knowledge charmedly, rolling young the they can do a clean bar bunch and Namanya teach over your Ashidele, Lolo, everybody's son, Jakara Jokataba.
And please Continue to engage in discussion groups, discussions with each other. And if you have any questions, you can ask the two kin Rinpoches that you have here. Ask them all your questions. It's good to ask questions. So Dashi Deleg.
Mori Tanga the Munam Sanchok of Jungjok, Uncle Tang take Chibo, they don't take no the young thing of the Lord. Then I got only young
And then regarding prayers, there's two very important prayers, and that is the Shantideva Bodhicharya Avatara and then the Samantabhadra prayer. If you recite these two prayers, you will realize the essential meaning.
Thank you, Rinpoche Tashidele, Tugye Chenang, Kadinche. So we're going to do a dedication first. Dorjen Chang, Telopa, Naropa, Marpa, Malarepa, Dharma Lord Gambopa, Hamotropa, Lord Digompa, please bestow upon us most auspicious blessings. You may achieve omniscience by defeating our enemies, confusion. And all who travels on the ways of birth, old age, sickness, and death across the ocean of samsara. Bodhicitta, the excellent, the precious mind, where it is unborn, may it rising, where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray the Lama may have good health. I pray the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activity suffer find wide. I pray that I may not be separate from you. As Manjushri Devero realized the automatic state, and as did Samantabhadra, I will follow in the path and fully dedicate all the merry for sentient beings. By the blessing of the Buddhas who attain the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of indivisible Sangha order, may the merry ashe bear fruit. By this virtue collected in 3 times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the ineffable virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious, and mighty may. May the teachings of Great Drikung Dharma, who is omniscient Lord of Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of the samsara. Is I and I wonder to come. Rinjem Barjet and Vice in the bar. Yellow design on the
Oi, Boris Sangha, thank you. Long life.
Long life, Tashidele.
Sem yam de yore, no to samadre. Thank you,
Our mind is together always.
Yeah, thank you everyone join the teaching and the Rinpoche the performing for this very profound teaching for us and due to Rinpoche's kindness. And thank you, Rinpoche, long life, your Sangha, pray for your long life, stay with us. Iyans, Tashidele, thank you. Kon, you are mute.
Thank you, Garchen Rinpoche, on behalf of Drikung Dharma Surya Worldwide Center. Many Tashidele, many Tuyeshe, Cảm ơn for your immeasurable love for all of us. And like Khenpo Samdap say, may you live 108 years old or longer for the benefit of all sentient beings. You know, all you know that even though Drikung Dharma Surya is hosting this event, but I believe that all of us here are part of the team, one team. Many of you have provided the technical support, the financial resource, attended teaching. So all of us are part of that. We got like Christina Lambert from GBI and her GBF's team. We got the Vietnamese Zoom Bodhisattva team. And we got Garchen Vancouver and got Roma from Maryland and Debbie and many all the Dharma Center have gathered their Sangha together in the Dharma Center and also do all the translation and teaching. You know, so we know that, and we also have Ina, our wonderful translator, and all the many other translators of many different languages. So we're all in together to attend a meeting, attend a teaching, but also convene the special teaching to all orders. We do it together. So I think we're part of one team. So we're just not the Drikung Dharma Surya. So I thank you for that. Deep grateful, and I'm really deeply grateful for that. And I know that this time many people from many countries in 4 or 5 different continents. I know like Asia, we have Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Vietnam, Nepal, India, and Tibet, and Japan, I don't know, but Australia, New Zealand, North America, Canada, Mexico, USA, many states, and South America, many countries, Europe, many countries as well, even Russia and Ukraine, you know, so many people involved. So I thank you for that, for all your support. So last but not least, we also have recorded the teaching and we upload it on our YouTube, so everyone can review and study and contemplate and act on it this time, and then we can meditate and we can realize that Garchen Rinpoche always said that when we meditate, our mind is one. We are all one. So thank you very much.
Come on, come on, come on.
Cảm ơn bà Lạc.
So some I think have questions, so I can share and try to answer your question. Is someone raising the hand? Is your question or?
Kepala, I think there was one question when Rinpoche was saying that we need to recite the 2 prayers. Which prayers? It was in the chat.
Oh, it's a kind of example prayer and king of aspiration.
It was.
And then
Rinpoche, would you mind to repeat Samantabhadra prayer and what? King of aspiration?
yes.
Wasn't it Chunchup?